Hangata re language is a barrier. Ha re tshwara le re bolela hore bana ba bangata dikolong ha ba sebetse hampe hobane e le hore ha ba di bone di a ba fahla bana ba motho a bang ona ke slow le ena e njwang kae ha se taba eno hangata ya be le taba fela puo ya mothatafalla puo ena e sebediswang dikolong e leng puo ya senyesemane ba boima ho yena jwale ka nqena ha o wa sheba ha re fihla dipalong hape mentele o hlotse baruti jwale hona le mane mo fumanang hore ntho tsena di dipedi di a kopana puo ena ya senyesemane e kopana le dipalo mona mo re buang ka di-word sums jwale ebe ho ba thata ho feta mohlala wa thuto e nngwe e jwalo dikolong kwana e ba di-ratios e leng tsona tse ke tlotlang ke di etsa ka jeno mo e leng hore puo ya senyesemane ha e se e kopane le dipalo hantlentle re e qhaqholla jwang re etsa jwang hore e be bonolo baneng ba rona. Lebitso la ka ke nyakallo.lephoto ke mothusi wa bana setseng sa thuto sa thusa bana community center se fumanehang motseng wa Katlehong Qwaqwa. Re thusa bana ba ntseng ba haella sekolong ho tloha ho grade 1 ho fihlela ho grade 7 mantaha ho fihlela Moqebelo ho ba hojana le motse wa Katlehong re na le di-online classes mantaha ho fihlela Labohlano. Let's do ratios. Mathematics meets English. A group of 25 grade 7 learners watched a soccer match. The ratio of the number of boys to the number of girls was 2:3. How many boys were there? The first thing is the question is asked such that this variable corresponds with this ratio. So if we are saying we're looking for the boys to the number of girls, because they have started with the boys, even in the ratio here, the first digit that comes in represents the boys. The second digit that comes in there represents the girls. And then we have our total, which is 25. Let us plot this. Let us go to Paint and plot this particular ratio. Let's point this particular ratio. Now, we know that we have 2 boys plus 3 girls. So that's the first thing you do, is to always add the ratio up so that it gives you the total. So this 2 here will represent the boys. The 3 here will represent the girls. And the 5 here will represent our total, which is 25. Now, because the 2 represent the boys, and that's what we are looking for, so we're going to say 2 out of the total, which is our 5. Multiply by the number of learners that were there, which is 25. Perhaps we should say 25 over 1. Maybe that's how we should do it. So we are going to have 2 multiplied by 25 gives us 50. So we're going to have 50 over 5. Which gives us 10. It gives us 10 boys. Ke re ke seditse kgatiso ena na ho tsebisa ka monyetla o teng wa hore o ka fumana one-on-one consultation le nna ke o thuse jwalo ka ha ke thusa ka di-online classes ho tloha ho bana ba grade 1 ho fihlela ho bana ba grade 12. Ke specialize ka English, Sesotho ha mmoho le mathematics. E ka ba o hloka thuso ka bofonetiki, maele, di-solve for x, taba tsa mofuta o jwalo, ke kgona ho thusa. Le wena a ntseng a ithuta ho ba titjhere ho tloha first year ho fihla 4th year, foundation phase ho fihla senior and FET. Ke a kgona hore ke o thuse ka yona tsela enana ya online. It's a 40-minute consultation, then re ka ba le follow up ha ele hore ho na le moo sa utlwisisang teng. The initial consultation ke 150 ranta fela, then follow up ke 100 ranta. Hangata ke be le lesson tse pedi le baithuti ba ka, e le gore lesson ya pele ke 150, then ya bobedi ke 100 ranta, 250 ranta for those two lessons, mo e leng gore o thusa ka bo assignment ya hao, ke be ke o thuse le ka tse ding tse ngata. Ke a tseba baithuti ba na le these modules tse re bitsang ka gore ke di-generic models, mo e leng gore moithuti o tla ba ipotsa gore jwale di-teaching lesson tse di tsamaya jwang, di-learner methods di fapana kae ho di-teacher centered method, di-theorist tsena bo John Dewey, bo Bangura, bo Piaget, ke tabanyana tse ngatanyana tse e leng gore baithuti ba sokola ka tsona, bo Bloom's taxonomy, bo scaffolding, taba tsa mofuta o. Ke kgona gore ke o thuse 078 383 3396 ka tsela ya SMS, voice note, or pick up the phone, call in and say Shafere who's a Linyora, le ka tsela ya email ke a fumaneha nyakallo.lephoto@gmail.com. ke a pheta hape nyakallo.lephoto@gmail.com. Now we want to check if this is indeed the case. Remember, we have 25 learners all in all. Now let's try and find the number of girls. So we are going to, with the girls, we are going to represent them with the 3. So that will be 3 over the total, which is 5, multiply by, let's do it this way, 25 over 1. So we'll have 3 multiply by 25, which will give us, in this case, 75. So that will be 75 over 5. Now we know that 75 over 5 gives us 15. So 10 plus 15 does give us 25, and that's how we know that these correspond. That's the first way to do the ratios. Let's go to the second question that ratios could be asked in your question paper, particularly in grade 7. I've seen ratios in grade 8 and in grade 9, but they are very common in grade 7. Jean, Maria, and Kiri shared some mangoes in the ratio of 4:2:1, respectively. This is the most important word here, respectively, meaning that in that particular order. What fraction of mangoes? So here they're not asking us really how many mangoes and everything like that, but what fraction of mangoes does Kiri receive? Now, as we had said earlier on, we had said this one, because it's the one that came first, it will correspond with the first digit. So this will be John, and the 2 will be Maria, and the 1 will be Kiri. Now the question just wants to know what fraction of the mangoes that Kiri receive. We're not going to do a whole lot of stuff. We just need to know what fraction of the mangoes Kiri receives. So where are we? We just need to change the views, and just need to go. It's 4:2:1. So let's do the total first. So it's 4 plus 2 plus 1. Is it 4:2 plus 1 or 4:3 plus 1? It's 4:2 plus 1. So that's 4, 6, 7. So that equals 7. So now we know the 4 is John, and the 2 is Maria. Kiri is the 1. So basically all we need to know is 1/7. That is the fraction. 1/7 multiply. But do they say how many mangoes there are? No. So that's all there is to it. So kiri is 1/7. And that answers the question, because what we were asked is the fraction. They didn't ask us how many mangoes she receives out of how many. So the cut that kiri receives there is 1/7. Let's move on to the third question and see how this one goes. The ratio of girls to boys in a swimming club was 2:4, but we know 2:4 can be 1:2. There were 14 girls. How many total members were there in a club? All right. But here as well, they have also shown us that we start with girls. So this 2 here represents girls, and the 4 represents boys. It's the converse of question 1. So now we were told that there were 14 girls. We were not given the total number, but we now were told that there were 14 girls. Now, how many total members were there in a club? What we need to find first is how many boys, and then we can add. This is how we are going to go about that. Let me just wipe the board. We have 2:4. We have 2 plus 4 equals to 6. But the 2 here is our girls. The 4 here is our boys. Right. So, in other words, we have 2:4 like this. The 2 here represents girls. The 4 here represents boys. But we've already been given the number of girls, that it's 14. When we look at the relationship between 2 and 4, we know that 4 divided by 2 is 2. So we are going to multiply the 14 by 2. We're going to have the boys, we are going to have 28 boys, because for every 1 boy, we have 2 girls. For every 2 girls, in fact, for every 1 girl, we have 2 boys. For every 2 boys, for every 2 girls, we have 2 boys. Right. So we now know that we have 14 girls and we have 28 boys. So the total will be 14 plus 28. Do this with our grade 4 learners. 4 plus 8 gives us 12. We write 2, we carry 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. So the total number of the members is 42, like that. So let's move on to the last one in this question paper, where we are still dealing with ratios. Now, a truck is carrying pear juice, cherry juice, and apple juice in the ratio of 3:1:3. If there are 16 cherry juice bottles, then how many bottles in totals are there? We're going to do the same thing, but just with two different, with the 3 digits in a ratio. So now they started with the pear juice, so the 3 here represents pear. This one is our cherry, and this 3 here is our apple. 3:1 is to 3. So let's go. Wipe the board. So we have 3, just to look for the total, plus 1 plus 3, which gives us a 7. Right, so we are looking for all of those, but we were given, let's move back to our question and see what we were given, that there are 16 cherry juice bottles. How many bottles are there in total? So as we can see here, we have that. This one is 16. We are given. But this one, this is pear. We were not given the pear. And we were also not given the apple. And also the total. But what we know here from this ratio is that for every 1 cherry juice, we have 3. So we're going to take this 16 and multiply it by 3. So that will be 16 multiplied by 3. So we know that for our apples, we have 48 apples. We have 16 here. But even here, it's going to be 1 multiplied by 3. So it's going to be 16 multiplied by 3, which gives us 48 again. So you just add 48 plus 48 plus 16 gives us 1, 1, 2. And that's how you go about working with ratios. My name is nyakallo.lephoto. Hakana magoloko a re a leboha. Di hakana tseo re ne re o tshwaretse tsona tsatsing la kajeno. Re le thusa bana community center e fumanehang motseng wa Katlehong Qwaqwa. Re thusa baithuti ho tloha ho grade 1 ho fihlela ho grade 7. Ba tsela ya contact ha o le haufinyana go ba hole re na le online classes Mantaha ho fihlela Labohlano. Nna ka lebitso ke nyakallo.lephoto. Ka mehla le matsatsi ke re emela thuto ya ngwana hao ka maoto. Ke a leboha.